On this video, we'll be visiting 3 of Oaxaca's archaeological sites. Monte Alban is just 6 miles east of Oaxaca City. It was founded around 500 BCE and was the preeminent Zapotec capital and economic center for nearly 1,000 years. Mitla was the main Zapotec religious center from 100 to 650 in the current era. Yagul was first occupied between 500 and 100 BCE. Current remains date from 1250 to 1521. If you're like me, you never heard of the Zapotec or Mixtec civilizations before visiting Oaxaca. So I'm going to take a few slides to place these civilizations in space and time. By 1000 BCE, the Olmec civilization was established on the Gulf Coast. It's the earliest major civilization in Mesoamerica. The Olmec are credited with the invention of the calendar and the concept of zero. They created the Mesoamerican ball game, which was played by future civilizations. And they invented popcorn, no doubt to eat while watching the ball game. On the Yucatan, hunter-gatherers are becoming farmers. 800 years later, the Olmec are in decline. The Zapotec, Mixtec, and early Mayan populations explode, and cities like Monte Alban emerge. By 170 years later, Mayan city-states have evolved and Zapotecs have expanded to the Pacific coast. Teotihuacan grows to a city of 60,000 people, and the Olmec cities are abandoned. In the next 230 years, a network of city-states spreads across Mesoamerica. Zapotec civilization reaches its fullest expansion. Teotihuacan becomes the largest city in the world with a population between 150 and 200,000 people. 550 years later, Teotihuacan is destroyed and the Valley of Mexico is divided among several small city-states. The Mayan civilization is at its peak with a refined art and architecture. Monte Alban is abandoned. Mixtec and Zapotec civilizations are in decline. In a little over 200 years, the Toltecs emerge in the Valley of Mexico. Many Mayan city-states experience a sudden collapse in population, and others go into a steady decline. The Mixtecs and the Zapotecs are fragmented into small city-states. In 1215, the Toltec capital is sacked and the empire has ceased to exist. City-states are at war with each other across the region. A new alliance of city-states emerges in the Valley of Mexico, the Aztec. We all know what the last slide looks like. By 1648, Spain had conquered all of Mesoamerica. The 3 architectural sites we'll be visiting are located in the Central Valley of Oaxaca. Monte Alban is located just 6 miles from Oaxaca City in the central part of the valley. The other 2, Mitla and Yagul, are in the eastern arm of the Central Valley. The Central Valley covers 1,300 square miles and is the largest flat piece of arable land in the state. The floor of the valley is at 5,000 feet, and it's surrounded by mountains reaching up to almost 10,000. The large valley supported 3 separate groups of farming settlements, one in each arm of the valley, dating to 4,000 years ago. For unknown reasons, there was a political consolidation, and Monte Alban became the predominant power center by 400 BCE. By 2000 BCE, it had a population of over 17,000 people, and the other 3 centers were abandoned. Monte Alban sits on an artificially leveled mountain ridge, 1,300 feet above the valley floor. There are various theories about how the name Monte Alban came to be. It might be a corruption of the Zapotec name, or a reference to the white blossoms of the trees that cover the slopes of the city. Our visit to Monte Alban begins at this monument to Alfonso Caso. He was the architect who led the excavation and reconstruction of the city in the 1930s and 1940s. As we climb the hill to the city, we pass a segment of an original wall. This place was a fortress as well as a city. The bejeweled platform is the first building we encounter. These stone discs gave the bejeweled platform its name. Alfonso Casa gave the buildings letters because the functions were not clear. Building A served as a base for a temple, possibly. We passed the ball court on our way to the Great Plaza. The Great Plaza from the North Platform. It's approximately 1,000 feet by 500 feet. A mountaintop was leveled to make this place. The plaza was completely paved with stones. The plaza is flanked by two great platforms at the north and the south, accessible from the plaza by monumental stairs. In the east and west are a number of smaller platforms, which are the temples and residences for the elites. Over 300 carved stone monuments were thought to depict dancers by the early explorers of the site. On closer examination and analysis, they are now interpreted as tortured and mutilated prisoners of war. They may depict leaders of competing cities or villages captured by Monte Alban. Some are identified by name and date in Zapotec glyphs. On Building J, there are 40 conquest stones. They date from 100 BCE to 200 in the current era, a time of expansion for the Zapotecs. The belief is that these stones celebrated the conquest of a village or a center. If the head is down, the conquest was by force. If the head is up, the conquest is by abdication. On our way out, we stopped to take a close look at the ball court. The rules of the game have been lost, and there are probably many variations. A rubber ball weighing as much as 8 pounds was used. A team of 2 to 4 players kept the ball in play by volleying it with anything but their hands. That wraps up our visit to Monte Alban, a very impressive place and a must-see when you're in Oaxaca. But it is very popular, so expect a crowd. Our next stop is Yagul. The site sits on a promontory above the valley floor in the eastern leg of the Central Valley. The site was first occupied around 500 to 100 BCE. Around 500 to 700 current era, it became a city with residential, civic, and ceremonial structures. After Monte Alban was abandoned around 800, Yagul became a capital of a city-state. Most of what we see today has been dated from 1250 to 1521. Prior to the Spanish conquest, Yagul had a population of more than 6,000. The site is set around a hill and consists of a fortress, a ceremonial area, and a residential area. The fortress is protected by natural and artificial walls and has an excellent view of the valley. Unexcavated residential areas lie on the terraces on 3 sides of the hill below the ceremonial area. The ceremonial area has several large patios surrounded by monumental structures. There's also a ball court, the largest in the Oaxaca Valley. It dates from 500 to 700. The most interesting part of the site is the Palace of the 6 Patios. This elaborate complex of rooms and passageways was 3 elite residences, each with 2 patios surrounded by rooms. A tomb entrance is found in each patio. The council chamber is a long, narrow building with no shrine, so it was assumed to have an administrative function. Next to the council chamber is a decorated street, so named because it was decorated with geometric stone mosaics. There are also a lot of interesting plants at Yagul that caught my attention. Our third archaeological site on this visit is Mitla. Unlike the others, it was built on the floor of the valley. Mitla was the main religious center for the Zapotecs. The name Mitla means place of the dead. It was a sacred burial site. The city reached its peak between 750 and 1521. The Mixtecs took control of the city around 1000. The unique feature of Mitla is the intricate mosaic fretwork and geometric designs. They're made with thousands of cut, polished stones that are fitted together without mortar. The Spanish destroyed most of the buildings on the site in 1553 and built a church over the top of part of the ruins. Today, it's the second most visited archaeological site in Oaxaca after Monte Alban. On average, 500 people per day visit the site. That wraps up the archaeological sites for this trip. There are several others that are worth a visit and are not as popular as these. We'll see those on our next visit to Oaxaca.